How you doing? Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the channel. I'm Jimmy if you're new. I'm getting the shop open up so we can spend a day in the shop. We got a whole bunch of cars. We got work left over from last week. We got 4 or 5 cars, maybe 6 out in the parking lot waiting. Full appointment schedule. Should be a busy day today. We'll put some clips in so you know what to expect in today's day in the shop video. Blazing here like this. Some of you might remember this car. Cadillac DTS. Nissan. So I'm not sure exactly what clips you've seen right now. I'll know on Saturday when I edit the videos for the week. So what we're gonna do here is just get it open and get started, because you know how we like to learn a thing or two and have some fun if you've been around a little while. If you haven't, where you been? Welcome to the party. We're gonna have some suspense, action, adventure, etc. Let's stop horsing around, get this place open up and get started. Stay tuned. For anyone wondering, it is about 57 degrees this morning. It's supposed to only reach 70. So, should be an interesting day. Alright, first things first, on the F150, get this Napa 51440 heater hose in here. Blazing here like this. Let go. Goes from the coolant tank across to the other side, and there's a clamp down here. Not too bad while you're in here doing valve cover gaskets. There'll be some things out of the way. That's going to help us out. Here's a clamp down there. There's the higher up one. It's hard to see. And this is caught on the valve cover stud. And then that bracket goes over it once I get the heater hose on it. And you got to disconnect this quick connect here without breaking the... There's a second piece of hose with another quick connect that doesn't come with the heater hose for whatever reason. See it in there? There's 2 quick connects about 4 inches, 5 inches apart. I've never known why, but they all have it. So we'll get some kind of tool to squeeze that together and try to get it apart. Or a more aggressive, since we're not putting this hose back on, we're replacing it, cut these tabs. Dunk. You don't have to worry about getting it pressed to release. Alright. With both sides of that cut, I might need to get some pliers just to keep that from giving me trouble. If I can get this to roll a little bit, it'll be good. There it is. Well, I've been draining the coolant for 20 minutes, but sometimes it doesn't come out of every crack and crevice. Now this can come off of here just by folding it over. New hose comes with the clip. Who needs it? On this side, BMW style retainer. Actually, I think all of them are doing it now. They're like, man, BMW is smart. Why aren't we doing that? Well, Bob, there you go. Now you're doing it. Alright, this is quite interesting. I took this retainer bracket out of the way so I can get to the upper clamp. But you guys see what I see? There's no clamp on it. This clamp is the lower that holds the heater hose to the heater hose, and that's in place of this one. There's supposed to be a clamp up here, but there isn't. I don't know if it was left off or broke and someone, or is this clamp maybe supposed to be up top and this is a retention clamp here? I don't know. Let's go ahead and get it loose. Not sure why I bothered to drain any coolant. I need to recover this bracket. It does not come on the hose. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'm trying to remember where it all goes, what it goes under, what it goes over. And this goes like this. This little clamp goes over here. Gonna go right about here. Hopefully it fits on. Sometimes the aftermarket hoses, it's a little bit chubby. That's gonna be fun. We'll get it. I'm gonna get tools. I'm gonna leave this off until I get done with my right driver's side valve cover. But that's what that clamp's supposed to look like. This is a permanent clamp. That's the one I took off the other hose to put on this one. It's odd, it was not leaking from there where there was no clamp, only from here. I hope this isn't cracked. It doesn't seem like it is. I finished putting this passenger side back together. These big hose assemblies will wait. I took them off in Friday's video. I can put on this PVC breather and this bracket, get some of these tubes back for this side. Now, these tubes can pop back in place a little bit. I gotta get this one down inside the intercooler hose. The clamp's laying down on the rubber hose already. It's a little bit of a dance, like a lot of things. So you gotta get it in the hose, and as you slide it in the hose, you push it back into the bushing, the rubber bushing that holds it. That rubber bushing comes out of the bracket before the rubber goes into the rubber bushing. That's all right. It's one of those things that you would think would be pretty simple, but sometimes it's not. It falls out of the bushing. It's amazing how, and that's pretty common actually. See how loose it is? The rubber falls out of the bracket by mistake, but pushing it back in, not so much. I got this in the hose below, but it doesn't seem to like that. I got to put it in both at the same time. So you get the bottom one, the hose down here kind of lined up. And yes, it is as hard as it looks. It is a huge pain in the ass. But that's what we do. And the rubber's a little soft, so it wants to kind of collapse rather than going over the plastic. Now, all this can come back over here. Yeah, this goes in the valve cover, although the other piece, the bottom of it broke off in the other valve cover, so it's done for. You can hook up our PCM, hook up this connector, the wheel liner gets, it's fabric, but it gets pushed onto this pin to help hold the wheel liner, I guess. I don't know which one helps which. Cam solenoid connectors. This is throttle body. Let's go over here. Everything's looking pretty good with that. This is, I believe this is the wastegate solenoid. I got my hose clamps tight down there on the turbos. Once I tighten that lower clamp, got all my pins back in their rubber bushings, went right to those clamps so they don't get forgotten. And then I let the truck back down to go back to this stuff. So now my harness is back in place. This will do after we're done with the other valve cover, so I can leave all that out of my way. Got a few things to disconnect over here, including this fuel line, which I believe on this one you unlock it and you can squeeze it and slide it out. It's like a double lock. That goes like that, and you can squeeze it. It's been sitting all weekend, so it shouldn't have too much residual fuel pressure. Maybe just a tiny bit. Kind of tuck everything out of the way. One less thing to worry about. I gotta do the hard line. These two nuts. Some coils. Start getting this valve cover out. These are gonna probably break. A lot of these push pins, they break off, which makes me sad. But there's not much you can really do about it because they're not gonna order them from Ford. So if we have to, we'll tie wrap something where it goes if it looks like it's in danger of rubbing somewhere, but I think we'll be okay. I'm gonna take this bracket off here. You gotta get this harness off these two rear valve covers, bolt stud dealios, and kind of get it tucked out of the way when you go back together. Coils all discombobulated, all these broke of course. They almost always do. And you can't get the valve cover bolts without getting them off anyway. So we're gonna figure that out. See if we have the technology. That's too easy. Should make them harder. I got it without too much fuss. Got to be made harder. Next gen. Oh, I got to get the bracket off of there. The 3 coils, the fuel line, and then it's only a valve cover. I don't know if you can see it, but this bracket goes down to the alternator upper bolt. It's like a 15. You can't get this bracket loose without taking off this 15 right here, if you can see that. So once I get that 15 loose, I think I can sneak that bracket out of the way and not even take all this out. Now, oh yeah, we're getting somewhere. I can pry that back enough. Oh, there you go. Man, these Ford engineers, they got it together. To keep this handy. And get these coils. I believe it's 17 or 18 on those. I forget which. It's funny though, on this truck they don't tell you to replace it when you take it off, when you loosen it. But almost every one I work on tells you to have to replace that line when you loosen it. We've discussed it in the comments a little bit. But to do this line, it goes down underneath the manifold, and for 3.4 hours, I'm guessing that's just not happening with this job normally. What do you guys think? Any Ford guys out there? I saw a Ford tech make you loco. Calls these the eco leak. In case you haven't seen other videos where I had these injector pumps off, it's critical tightening it down that you bring it down like this. You have to be patient to bring it down flat as you can, little at a time. Now, this has to come off too, and that is a Torx. This piece, this is what actually seals to the valve cover. So I think that's like a 27 or a 30 or something like that. Let's see what we got here over in the magic box. That's a 30. Oh yeah. I'm going to start prying on this thing, and I'll see you in about 20 minutes. No, I'm not kidding. Getting closer. Make sure that sometimes the threads will hang up on the cylinder head, kind of like go back into the threaded hole, but not really thread themselves, just snag on the aluminum hole. Just this back one's got to let go. 20 minutes so far. Yep. Now you leave. There you go. Look at that. The driver's side valve cover is apparently not available, so don't break it. Apparently you can't make enough of them to keep up with all the broken ones. Now, this valve cover is not available, so don't break it. That's all. I don't lubricate these, but whatever little bit of film of oil on your fingers, that works. If you shove them in dry, there's going to be some complaining and cracking. So don't do that. A little bit more. I just center them in the hole, in the valve cover hole. It'll be sticking out the bottom a little, sticking out the top just a little. Craftsman sockets, nothing but the best for this job. And this shows you how far down in the hole these were. Basically flush with the top. I'm going to put something flat on here. Put these in from the other side. I'm noticing there's a slight ridge right here that's not on the top. Let's try putting them in the other way. Took the oil cap off, so it'll sit on a 4x4. And you got to remember too, these go down on the solenoid from this side. This side faces up, so that side has to go in first. Not going in as easy as I hoped. I think they're supposed to go in from the other way, but the valve cover cracks from the other way. I'm guessing this has some kind of a taper built in here because they're not happy. But if I go this way, it'll actually stay. If I go this way, you can't get it in the hole. Let's try something else. Let's try that. I want to say the other valve cover, there's a baffle. I can't say we didn't try to go the other way. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. It's about what it broke on the other side, because I kept going down trying to get them flush. Not protruding at all on the bottom, but they are hitting the wood block a little bit. Therein lies the problem, Peter.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry, I apologize.
This is about as ready to go on as it's going to get. I got new O-rings in my adapter plate, new O-ring on the pump. I got to put a dab of RTV in each of these unions or joints or whatever you want to call them. A couple little scratches from prying it off, but nothing bad, and just inside of where the gasket rides, it looks like. I'll probably put a little smear of RTV on there just to feel better about it. And we can start putting this thing back together. I want to give a look at the cam lobes, make sure no sand or dust or dirt is on any of them. Wipe them off, a little clean motor oil if you have any doubts about it. We got quite a few cars. I just got some more tickets to look at, but I'm going to get this valve cover on and all before I do that. And then we'll see if we can come up with something else to do too. This might be repetitive if you watched Friday's video. I apologize. This wire, okay. this one. There we go. Get this little bracket out of our way. Get these snug down. Where's that torque wrench? We're gonna make them better, one way or another. 89 inch-pounds. Tech said they were gonna send me another torque wrench, but it's been like 2 weeks. Probably just takes them a little while, I don't know. Because this one is kind of hard to guess where you're really at, because the handle floats and you can't really. So I've got it where I think it's at 89. And I have a lot of experience with feel too, so kind of not that huge of a deal. That seems a little light to me. The harness accidentally went on the valve cover bolt when I moved it. Talk about memory. 3 bolts, dipstick, fuel pump. And I got my bracket back on my dealio on the valve cover stud. I'll tighten this lower. Well, it's an upper alternator bolt, but it's a lower bolt for the bracket. And I don't want to forget it. I'm doing it right now while I'm thinking about it. I didn't take it all apart. I just loosened it enough to move the bracket. Yeah. Oh, that's a 10. Might as well grab my extension since I had to grab an 8 anyway. While I'm over there, make it easier. I get this turbo hose on the turbo hoe. And put it in this grommet at the same time. And the rubber's getting a little soft. I think I gotta check the other hose, the other turbo hose. I think I loosened the clamp on that too. So I'm gonna lift it up, take a quick look at that, make sure that clamp's tight, and get these bolts in here right now first. It's all my 8mm stuff, and then we'll go on to the fuel pump, which is 10mm. Now, got my new O-rings in place. There's some dowel pins that kind of sits on. This goes like this. The cam lobe happens to be pretty far down, which is good. And these, we can also turn this clamp or bracket back in place. I'm going to try to get the load off the thread so I can get them started. These aren't as forgiving as the valve cover bolts. The valve cover bolts I turned in with a power tool because it has about 6mm with no threads to help guide the bolt. So it's a little more forgiving. Torque specs on that. That guy and that guy. $17mm. And for some reason I like to let that sit 5 or 10 minutes, do other things, go back, put my wrench on it one more time. Not something that's necessary, but it makes me feel better. This is for the solenoid over here. That's gonna go back. Now this, man, that feels weird. I hope I don't still have a leak when we're done. Then it needs a tank if I do. Let's see here. It's going to go under because it goes on this post. This goes on the manifold. We got an electrical connector. And hoses. An abundant supply of hoses. Green one goes to the tube, and there's a push pin for the valve cover. Now, this one goes down to the turbo valve. Same thing on this one. There's no clamps on these little vacuum hoses. Consider this one buttoned up. I do have to put my injector pump sound cover on. One goes. This one goes. Okay, right here. I knew there was one. I knew there was a place for it. There's a place for everything, and everything has its place. These goes down here, so this is going to go under. This is going to go under. This is going to go here. That thing. Connect it. I don't think it could be any easier. The last component in the puzzle is this guy, and also something that requires quite a bit of dancing. And I showed you guys Friday that you can't get to this clamp, so I usually try to do it with a flat blade screwdriver. Put my fingers on it from here and then do it blind. I can't see it at all, so just gotta feel where the clamp's at. There's some reason they didn't put this clamp on the front, and the only reason I can think of is because it would make it too easy. They'll just pay their poor technicians 0.2 or whatever it is. That's how they do it in this business. It's so funny. How much time we got today? 8 o'clock, 9, 10, 10 minutes to 11, so almost 3 hours. I put this side, finished this side and did this side. Took almost 3 hours. The labor guide's 3.4 for both. And I'm not as fast as I used to be. I also don't have a ton of experience with these, and we had a problem with a broken valve cover that kind of wasted some time. Now, if you get new valve covers from Ford, you save a ton of time transferring over all these bushings or grommets or whatever. But I don't think the labor guide really mentions whether you're doing it replacements or just gaskets or what. I think it just says R&R valve cover gaskets, 3.4. So I don't know who. You guys that work at Ford, Can probably do these in 3 hours or less, I'm guessing, but I don't know. It just doesn't, to me, I spent 3 hours, 3.5 hours the other day, and 3 hours to 6.5 hours I have in it. So hopefully the old Cadillac DTS or the 2002 Camry will turn my day around, because that's what's next. Time to make the donuts. Alright, let it run a few minutes, check it for leaks. Before we button this thing up, I gotta put them front tires on to drive it. Be silly to try it without doing that. And then if everything's good with this one, be the last you see of it till next failure. Next problem, I should say. Man, that took way too long. I was hoping to do about 4 hours or so, but I'm just not an EcoBoost fan. But I guess nowadays they're all ridiculously complicated. I did print out my valve cover orientation and torque specs, something that's good to have. You see, it shows you tightening them 1, 2, 3, 4 in the outer corners and then working your way in, which is kind of backwards from what you would think, but I follow the rules. All right, no leaks, coolant's topped up, warm air off the fan. This thing's ready for a road test. 2002 Toyota Camry. Some of you might remember this car. I think I looked at it for a check engine light. It had, I don't know if it was an evap code, I don't remember what it was, but I think we did a tune-up on it and some maintenance from fluids, and they said the check engine light came back on. I think last time it was like an evap code. We couldn't duplicate the problem. I'm not sure, but I know one thing. Got check engine light on, pulling it in. I'm gonna grab the scanner and we're gonna find out what went wrong or what happened. I hear exhaust leaks on this car too, so it could very well have some kind of a code related to that. I'm using a DS300 today. And I'm going to auto search this Camry. Pretty clean car. If you saw the video on it, about, it was probably a month ago or so. $174,199. It's in pretty good shape. Got the leather interior. You might remember the taped up door handle, which I was surprised they wanted to do any work on it, but just spark plugs were way overdue. We caught up on some maintenance, and that's all I remember. I thought I remember something with the check engine light, like I said, but skip. Let's go diagnose. It'll let us put the information in ourselves. Asian. It's mad because it's an older Toyota. It doesn't want to auto diag, auto search. Sometimes you put the brand in, then it'll do it for you. Pretty impressive. I've had the scanner in the box off for probably a month. Battery's at 100%. That's pretty good to see. If you guys remember the scan tool, it was a good little tool. I'm trying to spread the love around this week. I'm going to try to use a different scan tool every day. We're going to do some comparisons and things like that. See if there's... Honestly, I don't think there's a bad choice in a scan tool nowadays. I haven't had scan tools that wouldn't do things I wanted. You know they can't program. You're just using it to assist you with a diagnosis, looking at data. And bi-directional capabilities and stuff help. And wireless helps. And a kickstand helps. But other than that, it's mostly about your budget. You get the most expensive one you can afford, you know. Camry. Uh-oh. 2002, that's the one. Let's get this in. We'll take a look, see what the codes are. Let's taking a second. I'm going to search all the modules too. P0401 EGR A flow insufficient detected. Look at all the pending current history. It's mad about the EGR. Could I have left something unplugged? That would be tragic if that's the case. I'm going to go out and take a look though. Could just have a problem with the EGR. They have sensors in them on these. And I think I talked about it while I was taking the manifold off to do a tune-up. So let's go look. The EGR on these, you might remember I took the studs and everything out. And uh-oh. I don't think I I don't think I would have unplugged it, would I? I guess I would have had to take the wiring harness out of the way. But you might remember I took the nuts and studs out of there and lifted the manifold out from behind and left the EGR in place. But I guess I might have too gingerly plugged this in. Huh. It was not. It was in 90% of the way. Let's take a look at some EGR data, see what it looks like. ECM. I'll bring up the data, and I cleared the code already. It's a good customer and they're local, so it's not as terrible, but it's still bad. I'm pretty good about double and triple checking some, things like that, but I don't remember what was going on that day. I've been a little frustrated lately, as you might know if you watch my videos. And when you're not in the right frame of mind, things can happen. That's the bad part. I don't like that part at all. EGR valve position 19.6. Those exhaust leaks could have something to do with it. Maybe that was plugged in enough and the exhaust system could be causing an issue too. I don't know. But you know what we're going to do? I'm going to let it warm up, and then we'll bring this thing up on a graph and we'll take a look at the EGR valve position, and then we'll take a look at the EGRT gas. And when we're looking for on commands, we're going to want these things to change so we know the EGR valve's doing what it's supposed to, and hopefully we won't find out it was all my fault. Could have been though. But you can hear the exhaust. So that possibly has something to do with it too. Maybe that was plugged in enough and that last little bit wasn't the problem. I don't know. All right, upon further inspection, I found a split in a vacuum hose going to the EGR valve. Much more likely cause of this problem than that plug. If that plug wasn't on quite enough, but it was connected, so if I had a problem with that not being on, I would have had a circuit code rather than a flow code. So this is what it's supposed to do. It wants to see a temperature change. That's the EGR position sensor showing it working. Now the temperature change is another thing. When the EGR opens, you should see temperature rise. So the leaking exhaust is not a good thing. It needs work in that regard as well. But that little split in that vacuum hose is probably intermittently not opening that EGR valve enough. Fixing that, fixed it. I'm kind of sad, so I went ahead and took care of it. Let's see what else we can get done today. Something productive, maybe. Look at this beauty. 2006 Cadillac DTS. A staple in a luxury automotive market. 142,054 miles. Not quite due for an oil change. 1/1/24. 142.5. So 500 miles to go, but it was due a year ago, which the date thing, I'm not all in on that. Oil doesn't go bad sitting in a container on a shelf in a parts store. Why would it go bad sitting in your engine? The only difference obviously is your heat cycling. It's there's a little moisture in the crankcase that gets burned off by heat and the PCV system, so you do want to change it a little bit based on time, but not, a year is not really gonna hurt it. You get to where it's been 3 years and you only gone 400 miles, you probably should change the oil if you're gonna take your car on a drive. Anyway, it's gonna get a love rating of 6. It's in really nice shape. Let's get the hood open. He said something about his water pump is having an issue. Water pump belt and pulley broke. Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good. Even luxury cars need all the horsepower afforded by using a K&N air filter. Don't put those in your street car. I don't think you should, but it's a free country. You can do what you like. If they were capable of giving you extra power, the manufacturers would probably have them in there. It's free power, right? So why wouldn't the manufacturer use them? Because the little tiny bit of power you might gain is because they don't filter well. And if you're driving your car in traffic and on highways and there's dirt and dust, anyway, this is not good. This is a problem. We've got a tensioner that has left the building and a belt that has followed suit. The water pump does turn. This pulley's taking some damage. These get pressed on and off like a power steering pulley. Literally use the same tool. So we'll have to see if we can get a pulley, a tensioner, and a belt. The water pump looks to be okay. I think this bearing just locked up, broke that plastic pulley, and off she goes. So that's a quick, easy estimate to write up and see what they want to do. I recommend getting that filter out of there. And then we'll take a look around for some other things like wipers and stuff. Gotta do our inspection. It looks like Mises or something was in there. Sometimes 140 something thousand miles isn't a lot for a 2006, so 19 years old, right? We'll see what happens with this one. We'll see if we go any further, and I'll bring you non-stop entertainment, mystery, and intrigue if we get to go further with it. There's a bracket that goes over this that's missing. Goes here and here. Alright, customer might have taken it off himself. I'll have to find out about that too. We'll see what happens. Oh boy. Jeep, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Ford, Nissan. Nissan's got like 3 things he wants looked at, and I'm all about it. It's got a compressor noise or noise in the dash or something like that. Got a check engine light on, but it went off again. Got oil leaks. It's a 2008 Nissan Titan. The Cadillac, he doesn't have any money. He just wanted to know what was wrong with it. He's gonna come get it in the morning. We're not gonna do any work. 229,752 miles on this cream puff. Let's pull it in the shop and we'll see what's going on. I think they said something about a noise in the dash with the AC, actually, not with the compressor. I might have to have Joe take his AC check off the alignment rack. Well, you know what? I wonder if there's a car on the back lift. It's easier to look at oil leaks and stuff without having to set the rack. Oh, there's a car on there too. Okay. Probably another AC check. I'm probably gonna have to get a spot on one of those racks just because my lift in this and big trucks, I just don't like it. Like the F150, I only had to lift it up to get the front tires off. So tell you what, it's warm in here. It says 76 outside. I don't think it's quite that warm, but it's way hotter than that in this vehicle because the sunshine is coming down on us. Love rating 5. Tire lights on. Exclamation light because of the door. Yep. So I got to get the scanner, see why his check engine light had come on, and let's turn on the AC and see what's going on with that. I heard an actuator under here. Usually I'll just change one of the settings and see if I get a noise. You might need to have it on max AC recirc. See if it's cool. Oh, there's a noise. Let's go like this. A little warmer. That's the blend door. We change the blend door, see if the noise happens. We're back. I think it's when you first push dash, which would be a mode door actuator. The mode door is what changes where the air is coming out from. Huh. Oh. Did you hear it? I heard it down here. We'll get a picture of the HVAC box in Identifix and see where the actuators are located, and if there's one down there, I know we're on the right track. If I have to, we'll take away panels. If there's any doubt, I'll take panels down and put my hands on them, and you'll feel it clicking right at that actuator, or if you just get close to it on the plastic. Some of them you can't access. and then it kind of leaves you between in a rough spot. That's where it leaves you. Let's get the scanner. We'll see what the codes might be, and we'll look at the oil leak after that. Let's give the DS300 a moment to find itself, and then we'll get these two talking. 2008, it should auto ID. 2008 Nissan Titan. No longer making them. I believe Nissan stopped making them now. I'm not sure if I think they're selling remaining inventory, and that's it. Automatic search, and we'll see what kind of codes we got. It'll take a moment. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, we got a P1148 closed loop bank 1, and whatever that 4 means. We got a PO130 HO2S1 bank 1. Whoop, I didn't touch anything. Go back. Oh, come on, man. BCM codes. Current, front left, right rear, right left. Some kind of, that's ABS is separate from that. That might be TPMS sensors or something like that. Let's click on it and see if anything shows up. TPMS light on. Yep, there you go. Back. Set a report. We'll take a look and see what we can sort out for those codes. That's why it comes and goes. Probably has an O2 sensor just starting to go bad. 229, 752. And you know, we don't want to just go ahead and pop in an O2 sensor. We want to do some diag. Oil leaks are going to be last. All right. Personally, I think this has a bad air-fuel ratio sensor. They're not really oxygen sensors. Oxygen sensors are behind the cats, and they just read oxygen, and then narrowband. An air-fuel ratio sensor is a wideband sensor. It has a lot more range. They'll have a little pumping motor on them. They compare an air chamber inside with air outside. It's a really complicated little dealio, and a lot of people buy them on Amazon, and they're really just an O2 sensor with the same connector as an air-fuel ratio sensor, and they'll set all kinds of crazy codes. But looking under the hood, that doesn't look like it was changed. It does have wickedly bad leaking valve covers though. Let's bring up some data, and we'll compare the left and right air-fuel ratio sensors. This code, like 9, maybe not 99 out of 100, but at least 9 out of 10, if not 19 out of 20 times, it's going to be that air-fuel ratio sensor. But there are some tests, because sometimes if the PCM's not grounding it correctly, or if you have a problem with an engine ground or something unusual like that, or a shorted heater, then you could get these codes, but the shorted heater's in the sensor. I'm trying to think of things that would set that code. Let's take a look here and bring up some data. Sensor 1, bank 1 data, all that kind of stuff. Let's fire it up. The battery's getting a little bit weak too. See how bank 2 immediately jumped and started working? Oh, bank 1 now, but it took a little while. That's kind of unusual. That one sensor would start right off the bat and the other one would wait. I want to compare, I want to combine this one and this one in a graph and watch what they do. Now they're not hot yet. We haven't gotten heat in the system yet, but once they get heat in them, we'll see if it changes left to right what they're doing. Try to monitor that sensor. And like he said too, the code went away, the light went out. That means it passed. So it's not doing it all the time. I mean, I've had a lot of these where you turn it on and you'll see 5 volts coming out of one sensor and the correct voltage from the other, and you know that sensor is probably bad because it's got voltage and it's got ground, or it wouldn't be reading. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. I'm going to see if something changes when these things heat up, and we'll take a look at that data if it happens. I'm trying to make this sensor work. Oh, that's no good. Try to make this sensor do some work by hitting the gas and letting off. You can also open a vacuum leak. You can induce a fuel into that same hose that you make a leak from. You can induce a rich condition by adding fuel. The bank 1 sensor is definitely not the same as bank 2, but it's not doing anything too tragic right now except for some of these dips. If it does that, the sensor's going open. But I want to see if it'll do this and stay for a longer period of time. And we could put a scope or a voltmeter in that sensor and read the wires. They're all random voltages around 2.1 to 2.3, 2.5 volts. There's 4 or 5, I think there's 5 wires. One of them's a ground. So just run a little bit longer. The purple and gold are the secondary, the O2 sensors. That's on the right bank of the right of the graph. The blue and orange on the left of the graph. So don't confuse these numbers. When you see this purple jump, it's only 2/10. Although I would like to see these a little richer than they are. It's in a lean fuel trim, probably just that idle normal. I don't see any problem with it. Driving it on the road doesn't set the code. Everything seems to be working normal. So whatever happened with that front sensor is probably just starting to go bad, or it could be even a wire connection, something like that, but it's not doing it right now. So I'm not going to spend too much time chasing that. The code is cleared. We can see if we get any more codes. We'll have to drive it a little further after we fix all the oil leaks and things like that if he wants to do that kind of stuff. So we're going to have to see what happens with that. The valve covers are leaking profusely, so you won't even be able to tell if things underneath the valve covers are leaking as well. 229,000 miles. And this truck's been here before. I don't know if you guys remember it. I think I remember it myself. But you can see the valve covers are just leaking profusely on both sides. I mean, there's oil all over the place from them. So it's going to be hard for me to condemn something underneath without degreasing the entire engine and running it to see which is the worst of the leaks. I know I need valve cover gaskets, and I know the engine runs good. So let's do those and advise the customer that they might have other leaks. I'm going to get it on a drive-on rack, make sure there's nothing crazy going on, like with an oil pressure sender or something like that. Well, we got tomorrow's project about ready to go, but we're closing it down for today, guys. I appreciate you watching. Hope you got something from today's video. Got the F-150 back on the road, got a couple of little problems solved. Had a back out or two. I'm not sure if I've filmed all the back outs. I'm gonna try to shorten the videos a little bit just to make the editing quicker, because this week's videos were a little shorter and I had 3 of them done by lunchtime on Saturday. I don't want to make them short. I want to make them better, really. That's really the end goal. So I'm not going to film some of the silly repairs and a lot of the oil changes and things, so I can kind of tighten things up. You guys let me know what you think. After a couple of weeks, we'll see if the videos are getting better or not. So either way, I appreciate you watching. I hope you'll torque the like button on your way out if you got anything from this video, if you enjoyed yourself a little bit or learned something. But more than anything, I hope I see you in the next video, because you're awesome.